So we have some Triple Crown news. First, we're going to talk about the Derby news, and then we have some big Preakness news. So we're going to do it in the order of the Triple Crown, and then ignore Naira, just like the Graded Stakes Committee did for the Belmont. So, John, the purse was bumped up to $5 million for the Kentucky Derby. It was $3 million previously. Now, this is something that a lot of people in the industry have been calling for a long time, just because it didn't seem congruous to have all these Breeders' Cup races be $6 million and $4 million and $3 million and have the Derby still be $3 million. Honestly, it doesn't affect me at all in any way because, I don't own horses that are going to run Derby. I work for a company that does, but my cut is going to be like this big if we win the Derby. It's more about the prestige. John, how does this affect owners, breeders, everybody else in the business to have this purse bump?
Joe, we talked about the idea of having the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks, for that matter, increase purses. There was, remember months ago on Twitter, there was like a little firestorm about how come the Derby's not millions more and then the Oaks, and it's the most prestigious race. And I remember at the time I was like, it doesn't matter because they're always oversubscribed anyway. Those are the most important resume building races for 3-year-olds, and people gun for the Derby and for the Oaks. And even the fans that are out and people that are outside of the industry, if they don't know of anything else in the industry and they find out that I'm involved, the very first question I get is, have you ever run in the Derby? Like, they don't know anything else. It's like if somebody asked me about NASCAR and I would be like, did you ever race at Talladega? I don't even know if that's really a NASCAR thing, but anyway. So I was like, they don't need to raise the purses for those races because people are coming there anyway. It's a destination site. It's a resume builder. And color me shocked. I was wrong. And they went ahead, Churchill Downs went ahead and not only raised purses significantly for the Derby and for the Oaks, but also like 20 something other stake races. So they're putting in a shit ton amount of money into their spring and early summer stakes schedule. And I'm astonished because one thing you can say about Churchill Downs that they've been consistent over the years is that they are very, 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 business oriented with regard to how it affects Churchill Downs and how it affects their stock. So I'm surprised that they're actually putting money into those big races because, again, they didn't really need to. And Joe, I wanted your opinion on this. I wonder if it's maybe like a little bit of PR soothing because they did have all those breakdowns and some negative news and PR between the breakdowns and also the fact that the turf course wasn't ready anywhere near when they anticipated it was. I wonder if maybe they were just kind of like, let's throw some money on this so that way people won't complain about the missteps that we took recently.
Yeah, well, some people made that point on Twitter. It was like there's a quote from Bill Carstanjen about like this really kind of underlines the health and the buoyancy and all this of the Churchill Downs business. And people are like, I seem to remember them having some problems and the business not being that healthy in the past year or so. But it is, in terms of the bottom line, mainly because of historical horse racing. Like the prize money, I'm reading from the Blood Horse Story, the prize money for the stake schedule increased 25%, $5.1 million total. So they're up over $25 million for the stake schedule. From last year's $20.5 million. And it says last month, Churchill opened a second HHR gaming parlor in Louisville, Kentucky, this one downtown. They also had HHR at Churchill's Derby City Gaming offsite training center. I don't get it because I have literally never seen a historical horse racing machine or played one or anything, but this seems like such a gold mine. And I'm just curious, it seems even more so than slot machines. Now, maybe that's just a Kentucky thing because, there's that horse racing already ingrained in people in Kentucky and specifically Louisville, that maybe it's more successful there. But I don't see it doesn't seem to be that popular anywhere else. But this is it seems like this is really the lifeline for the Kentucky racing industry, more so than anything, is these HHR machines. John, do you have any insight on that?
The HHR machines are very well marketed for that crowd. They wouldn't fly in New York. I don't think it would fly really in any other state or commonwealth other than Kentucky, because Kentucky is so steeped in that kind of history. And Joe, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but like, gamblers will bet. I mean, bettors bet. And whatever product you put out there, they're going to bet on. And case in point, when COVID was coming around and all the major sports were closed down, there was such an influx of new money and new gamblers into our sport, because it was literally the only game in town. But I argue with you that if we had like cockroach races that were streamed online, people would bet on that also if there was a parimutuel angle. So I think just bettors bet, and that's that's kind of the machine du jour in Kentucky, because they do have the ability to tap into the personal feelings of racing for Kentuckians.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting. Like that it seems like it unique to that state that it's just so successful. Obviously, we've seen the effect of slot machines in general on racing and the positive effect it's had. There's another discussion to be had about whether that's healthy for the game long term to have so much of our purse money, attached to basically a gambling endeavor that doesn't have anything to do with racing. At least this one has nominally a little bit to do with racing and gets people theoretically in the headspace to bet on the horses. Although, I don't know. I haven't seen the data as to how much crossover there is. But I just wanted to mention there's a couple other big purse boosts. $250,000 boost to the now $1.5 million Kentucky Oaks. So that's a big deal. You got the La Troyenne is $1 million. Churchill Downs Stakes is $1 million. The Derby City Distaff is $1 million. The Distaff Turf Mile is $750. So the track's got now has 7 Grade 1 events, including the Turf Classic and the Stephen Foster, that are also $1 million purses. I guess the Stephen Foster is a Grade 1 now. I thought it had been downgraded to a Grade 2. I guess
I thought it was too.
I guess it's a Grade 1
Joe,
again.
if it was offered in New York, it would be a Grade 2. Because everything in New York got downgraded by the Graded Stakes Committee. And guess what? Nothing again. We're going to get on a soapbox. Nothing in Kentucky got downgraded. Anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Can't wait for the non-listed, non-black type Belmont Stakes in like 2027. that'll be a fun environment to be in. But yeah, and I mean, listen, it's a great week of racing. Like, there's no denying that. And there are people have called for this for a little while for the purse bump. But like John said, like, were you not going to run in the Kentucky Derby because it was 3 million versus 5 million? Like, I find that hard to believe. But people got what they wanted, so. I guess there's going to be a little bit more to celebrate for the owners and the breeders of horses that are going to run at Churchill Downs.